as entrepreneurs, we want to get our message out there. I mean, this is so important to all of us. We are passionate. We want to be a hero to a group of individuals. We want to make a difference in their lives. And we know by doing, delivering great value for them, we create great value. Well, today I've got a remarkable entrepreneur that's joining us. He's become a good friend, and really, I've watched him from afar. He is one of the top copywriters in the world, in my mind and in his fellow peers. And I've asked him to come and share some of his insights on how we as entrepreneurs can get our message out. You're going to love how he got to be the top copywriter, and more importantly, you're going to love the lessons. You do not want to miss even a second of this. Stay tuned.
Ordinary success? No way. You want amazing, remarkable, exceptional breakthroughs. Dig deep, think bold, drive hard, watch yourself soar beyond your dreams. AESNation.com.
Kevin, I am so excited to have the Kevin Rogers here. Just phenomenal copywriter that, you are out there. Not only are you helping so many other entrepreneurs, but you're helping so many other copywriters really be effective in getting their message out and making things happen. And nothing happens without guys like you. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John. It's a thrill to be here and ready to have a good time today. So thank you.
So one of the things that I didn't do it in the introduction, but you've got more colorful history than some of us and a tougher life we were talking about before we turned on the camera. But give me a little bit of the backstory, our fellow entrepreneurs, so they know kind of where you're coming from as we go into some big lessons that you've learned and you've been able to help really people make hundreds of thousands of dollars, really even millions of dollars through campaigns.
Sure, yeah, happy to. I guess what's most interesting on my resume is that in my teens still, I started performing stand-up comedy in my town here of Clearwater, Florida, where I primarily grew up. And the funny thing I remember the most when I first made that decision to try stand-up was I think I was 17 or 18, and I called the club and I said, "Hey, do you have to be 21 to do the open mic night?" And they said, "Well, how old are you?" And I said, "I'm 18." And they said, "Okay, well, just don't drink." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "How long do I get? Like 20 minutes?" Yeah. And the guy says, "Have you done this before?" I said, "No, it'd be my first time." He says, 20 minutes, you'd be lucky to get 5. I go, 5 minutes? What am I going to do in 5 minutes? I'm negotiating already. And of course, I get up there and I end up doing like 3.5 minutes, just trying to remember all the jokes. I'm like blinded by the light, I'm just sweating and trying to remember the lines and listening for something that sounds like laughter coming back from this dark room. And it was the most, frightening and exhilarating thing I'd ever done in my life. And the minute I came off stage, I couldn't wait to get back on. It's one of those things that people ask me, I've always been a little interested in stand-up. Should I try it? And I say, yeah, now that you've spoken that, you have to try it because you will always regret not trying it. And don't worry, because you'll know on 1, maybe 2 tries most if it's for you or not. There's no second guessing if you're just addicted or not.
And the market
right away.
Feedback's pretty amazing too.
Talk about real time, man. Yeah.
So Kevin, I mean, I think I've taken some improv lessons along the way just because I enjoyed it, and I found it. There's a whole bunch of books out there, and I'm forgetting the authors who have written about improv for business people because it's just the power of the lessons that we can all incorporate so many of those conversations. But going from stand-up and then to be one of the top copywriters in the world, that's a journey.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah, long and winding road there. Did it, so I went on the road. I was on the road by 19 in my 74 Chevy Nova with a big block 350 and a 4-barrel carburetor. That's my road car. I'm getting like 8 miles to the gallon, and but stayed on the road for a good 7 or 8 years, and finally got a little burned out. In all my, and I was very much the artist, right? I mean, I didn't understand anything about business. I was not a capitalist. I felt like, man, I'm an artist, and my job is to come here and show up and kill the room, and that's supposed to be enough, right? And then over the years, I kind of realized, wait a minute, that's not quite enough. There is a business equation to this. And I knew that I didn't quite have it figured out. And the one promise I'd made to myself, even as a early 20s young comic in person, I said, I was working with a lot of guys who were probably past their prime, great club comics, could murder the room very dependably, but you just had a sense they weren't going to get the shot, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, man, if I can't become that, because that's pretty sad. These guys are bitter. They're drinking way too much. This is not working out. And so around the age of 30, I just said, man, it's time probably to think about the rest of my life and what's important to me. And a couple things were going on. One is I had I moved to Los Angeles because a friend of mine, talk about a business lesson, was given a sitcom. He had a development deal with NBC, and they made a pilot, and he was going to have a sitcom with his name on it. So he says all along to them, hey, I just want to have one writer in the room representing my voice, which seems like the most common sense thing in the world, right? The show is named after you. You think you could have a writer. And they say, oh, yeah, of course, of course. He says, okay, well, I got the guy. This guy, Kevin Rogers, and I pack everything I own in my trunk from Chicago, and I moved to Los Angeles, and here's the dream come true. I'm going to become a comedy writer. I was always I really liked writing. I was okay giving up the performance side of it, right? We get out there, and the show actually gets picked up. We were too naive to realize that it actually had to get bought, the show, right? And then it does, and he says, okay, well, when does my writer start? And they go, well, we're gonna have to look at some of his spec scripts, and and I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what a spec script is. I had never written a script in my life. So, it was a real awakening. They didn't end up hiring me. And some of the more veteran writers said, don't take the writer's assistant job, or you'll never get a seat at the feast, And so that was a real wake-up call to me, that moment where I thought, I don't even know if I dig this Hollywood, this show business thing at all. And then I happened to know the woman I was supposed to marry, my wife, Michelle. We met when we were both 19. Her brother-in-law was my first mentor, really in life, and he was the guy who owned the comedy club. And we were instantly fell in love, and I knew she was the girl I was supposed to be with. And she was amazingly still available when I was like 27, 28. And I thought, if I don't find out if this is real, she's gonna be the one that got away. And so we ended up married, fantastic. And now it was time to get serious. And through lots of no resume jobs in things that, bellman, bartender, things that in hindsight, like comedy, really lent a lot to what I do now as a copywriter. Obviously weren't going to pay the bills. And then by fate, a guy named Chris, who was hired by a company I was working for to consult, was a huge marketing buff, a direct response guy. And in fact, he's the story he told me about how this all works that finally made it all click for me was the story of Joe Polish, about this dead broke carpet cleaner who had turned his business around through marketing and now made millions of dollars teaching other carpet cleaners how to do this, right? And I thought, somehow that makes sense. That's incredible. And so that was it. And he said, I know you like to write. Why don't you check out copywriting? And I fell in love with it. I used to get tingles, at the idea of, wow, like something out there that can actually pay me well. It allows me to utilize everything I've done up to now. That was like a miracle for me.
It's an amazing journey that you've been on, Kevin, and it's so powerful. I mean, and one of the things I think for all of us as an entrepreneur, our ability to reinvent ourselves You know, the marketplace is changing. I mean, Joe Polish is a mutual friend, and Joe stars almost every line that he was a dead broke carpet cleaner, and that was one of his higher moments type thing. And he, you know, certainly extremely successful. I've had the privilege of partnering with him on a number of things, and you know, so we get to reinvent ourselves, and you've done that, and you know, and you've been out there. I mean, I can't think of anywhere, you know, being a stand-up comedian, being out there, and you know, the writing scene. I did work in the entertainment industry for a couple of years. Had a couple of the comedy writers who did make the big time, so I can tell you that it's pretty big checks when you do it. But yeah, but it's you know, I don't, one hand I can count the guys I knew that had been successful on it, and you know, a huge number that I mean, I could never tell the difference between the people who were getting paid the big bucks and the guys who weren't. But you collect all this great content, life experiences, and so on. And you know, tell me, you know, some of the life lessons that as an entrepreneur and our fellow entrepreneurs who are watching us, what can they learn from a stand-up comedian? I mean, from that experience.
Yeah,
you know, that's big.
It's a great question. Yeah. You know, it's interesting is it took me a while to make even that connection, right? Because I had learned to bury this whole stand-up thing on the resume because it was losing me 9-to-5 jobs. And it was finally my friend, John Carlton, and John was my hero. The fact that we're friends, it still blows my mind. This is a man that I revere in a big way. He's taught me so much. And he was really interested in the fact that I'd been a stand-up. And I started to realize, wow, like this is sort of a personal hook for me. It's a bridge gapper here, and or closer. And so he said to me, "Why aren't you talking about that? You know, like in your blog and stuff." Like he said, "Do you realize how few people have had that experience, and how many fantasize about it? Would love to be able to walk up on a stage and kill the room." And I thought, wow, that's interesting. I guess that's true. I knew so many stand-ups, it just seemed like a normal thing to do to me. And so that's when I started really looking at the parallels and things like, you know, quickly commanding attention, just, you know, winning attention, certainly holding attention, overcoming obstacles. Like you said, there's no greater real-time market feedback than when you're on a hot mic in a dark room with drunk strangers.
Alcohol just gets that market feedback flowing really quickly here.
All those inhibitions, that politeness goes out the window. And yeah, so, you know, you get heckled, you start out poor, you have to regroup. And man, all that stuff, I didn't realize at the time was coming a part of my DNA, right? It was becoming instinctual. And when I sat down to write copy, I really felt like if I had a natural ability or gift, it was that I was very empathetic to my customer avatar, and I could tell instinctively if the copy was getting boring, if it was hitting the mark, if the headline was dynamic enough. So that's where a lot of that comedy really came in handy, that live stuff. And then structurally, I finally sort of put together that, wait a minute, like a joke formula is not so different than a copywriting formula. You know, you could kind of switch some parts of these around and have them transfer really well. So that was wicked helpful too.
You know, the stakes are so high. You know, when you're standing up on stage, you got all these, you know, your audience. We'll just leave it at that. Everybody's been to a comedy club. They know their audience, you know, the audience that's there. And
PC title for those people.
Yeah, yes. and depending on the time frame that you're there to, whether you're early or late.
Third show, yes.
Yeah, can make
the
a
midnight
huge
show.
Yeah, can make. So the stakes are high. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, you know, matter of fact, I was just going over a couple marketing campaigns we're doing now, and I was just doing a final kind of review on some copy. And I got to tell you, the stakes are high so often, over and over. You and I have talked about that, you know, in my business. That, I mean, how do you take and, you know, inspire attention? Because, I mean, all kinds of studies, you know, one of them I was just reading is saying, I think this is a little too high, but the average successful, affluent individual is getting 4,000 marketing messages a day, you know, from all the different sites and you know, driving down the road, the TV, the internet, and all this. how can we inspire, you call the customer avatar, those ideal clients or customers for each of us as an entrepreneur, to even get their attention through all this?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the key word is to specialize and to be the best expert they can find and the one who resonates with them the most. So part of it is not trying to reach everybody. Look at how much things have changed. I mean, when's the last time you sat and intently listened to a radio commercial? Like, let's be honest. Can you hit the button fast enough when they go into the commercials? I mean, somebody must be playing a song, right? With DVRs, we're fast forwarding through commercials. Everybody's inundated and overwhelmed, and seemingly, certainly, attention spans have gone down. Sally Hogshead loves to point out that the attention span is now a second less than a goldfish, at about 8 seconds. The human attention span, and so for me, it's about. Look, what I realize is people, because they're so overwhelmed and because they're overwhelmed with choice of where they get their information, they know that they get to choose who they're going to listen to. So my defense against that is to just have a very distinct voice and put out really killer content all the time, and have people, when they come to your blog, your website, whatever it is, they experience your content, your copy. They may go, I knew a few of those things, but I really like the way that person said it, or this person resonates with me. Show up on video, do some things, be transparent, be raw, and even if it's 5, 10, 20 seconds at a time, make an impact that's going to make them go think of you when they want an expert on your topic. I think that's our best defense.
Kevin, one of the things I love about your work, you're a big believer in the power of the story, and we do a lot of research in our business, both for entrepreneurs and for financial types. And one of the things we find, so many entrepreneurs and certainly financial types are left brain dominant, they're very logical and all that, that when we survey wealthy individuals, 84% of them want to connect first emotionally and then justify whatever engagement or becoming a customer or client by logic. And most of us, so many of us in my industry, particularly financial services where I grew up, want to do it pure logic, and that emotional connection. I mean, that's something that you are phenomenal, and really any good to great copywriter is going to have some story. I mean, how, as entrepreneurs, we all think we're boring, we're mundane. How do we start thinking about the story and all this stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question, because so much of us say, well, that's great for you, Kevin. You're a comedian. I mean, what an advantage. So why am I supposed to say? And I say, you know what? Like, be who you are. If you're a little boring or dry, it's got to be something entertaining about you or interesting about you. And look, if you desire to be more entertaining, there are ways you can do that as well. One of my best pieces of advice I give people who say, yeah, I'm just not funny. I can appreciate humor, but I say this: think of the comic that if you were a comedian, you'd be the most like, and study them. Like, what are their patterns? What kind of jokes do they tell? How do they set up a premise and execute the punchline? And practice doing their jokes, their material. Whether it's, Bob Newhart or Bob Goldthwait or, someone in between, find that person that you go, that's who I'd be. And, model them until it becomes more like you. So that's one way if you want to come out of your comfort zone. The other way is, again, just be organic and also bring in help. It doesn't always have to be you putting the words on the page. If you go to make a video, you can get some help with scripts. There's all kinds of things you can do with video. You can add in animations and cut it up in a way that if you got a dry delivery, you could have fun with it in the video, or you could break it up so it doesn't become too mundane. It's never been easier, John, to present information to the world in a colorful and entertaining way cheaply. Budget isn't a huge concern for most
Well,
of
I'm
your
thinking
audience,
just
but
you and I, hanging out on Skype. I'm going to do just a quick over the shoulder shot. I'm sitting here at global headquarters, our pool house, and, interviewing and technology. I mean, to put this video together is next to nothing in cost wise. And so there's no excuse from a technology. And the part I want to echo, Kevin, that you came up with, I mean, that you mentioned, that I struggled with this. I mean, I really did. And I've got, I'm 59. There's moments of excitement, along the way. I was a pilot in the Navy. I was very successful in financial services, worked in sports and entertainment, did all this stuff. But most of it was pretty boring and mundane type. But, working with someone to help draw that out of you, particularly for the specific needs that you have, all of a sudden you can become very quickly a serial storyteller. And people, today's world, we've got choices. I mean, you're never going to have the best, commodity, the best service, because nobody can define those things.
Right.
But
Right.
boy, one of the things I love about you is you talk about the best story wins. I mean, and that for us as entrepreneurs is, it's just so critical.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a great example of this, John. When somebody goes to your page, there's a video of you telling your story, and it's compelling. And it's not a hair-raising adventure necessarily, but I watch it and I'm engaged, I'm entertained, and I know you at the end of it. I know exactly what kind of person you are. And when I did meet you, that's the same guy in the video. So the key there is that you are authentic, And
Well, I mean, your story can precede you. I mean, it really introduces you. You get other people telling the story. You get the videos telling it. And you and I, when we first met, it was like, because I had watched your videos too. You and I knew each other. I mean, we could have been, buddies in high school almost, from that point. We had a real high level conversation. And that's what all of us want as entrepreneurs.
Right. Yeah. Great point. Great point. And, there's also a bit of magic that goes along with it, that sort of star power. Having a podcast, having a show like this, I'm sure so many people have come up to you, John, at some event, meeting you for the first time or something, and you're having a conversation, and they say to you, I'm having a strange reaction because I've heard your voice so much that it's weird to talk with you, right? It'd be like, imagine getting in the back of a cab with Howard Stern on accident or something and be like, oh my God, that voice would be so wild, right? And so
It'd be a little scary, actually, too. I've been in an elevator with him once.
Oh, really?
His office was on 54th Street, and we had an office over there. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a big dude, too.
I've heard, yeah. I bet it's intimidating because you think he's the master manipulator of any interview, of any conversation.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I was in the elevator. And I did say hi to him. I just had to do that. But I mean, everybody kind of moved over to the side and gave him a lot of room and everything because he was. I mean, he's still obviously extremely high profile, but that was the beginning of his high profile show. It was a while ago.
Wow.
But yeah, you talk about the magic ingredients, and I think this, the know, like, trust that we talk about. I mean, expand on that a bit because that is. As an entrepreneur, quite honestly, the first time I heard it was Joe Polish. I had struggled in 2008, 2009, downturn in the financial market. I had been working with all these large banks and brokerage firms, and I had a phenomenal business. And all of a sudden, they stopped returning calls. Matter of fact, some of them went under, and it was like, okay, I've got to raise my profile in this industry. And in our case, we wanted the advisors coming direct to us rather than just working with the firms because they needed to help to serve their clients through this really tough period. And that, I'll tell you, was magic. That I heard that know, like, trust. Oh, wow. Putting that into play was a huge difference.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point, is that it's something, just once you become conscious of the need for it, that's almost half the battle, right? Because you suddenly start to say, all right, I have this short message I want to put out. It could seem like the driest piece of information. Maybe it's a stock update, right? Say you did at the end of every day, here's where the market is. Well, you don't have to be Jim Cramer about it, but how entertaining could you make it beyond just the fact that it's, numbers? So, two interesting things about know, like, a child. I'll give you some tips and formulas, but what's cool about it is there's a second lesson in here, in that never assume that you have to have the most original material in the world. Know Like Trust was a breakthrough moment for me because, like you said, like the term existed certainly before I came around, and I had heard it, but I realized when I put together a presentation, the first time I was invited to speak on stage at an event, I needed something to teach. And I realized what was fueling what I was teaching was this idea of know, like, and trust. And so I talked about know, like, and trust in that presentation. And then all of a sudden, the thing I did not expect was that even the event host and some of the other experts in the room began referring to me as the know, like, and trust guy. And I was like,
Well,
wow.
and that's a great compliment, obviously.
Yeah, and suddenly I'm like the leading expert on how to, anytime you mention, because I called it KLT, the KLT formula. And so they would say, know, like, and trust are important. Like Kevin Rogers talks about the KLT. And I'm like, man, like I certainly didn't invent it, but now I'm getting all this credit, right? So never think that if you don't have the most original thing in the world to say, that you can't own part of it.
And what I think you did that was really powerful, Kevin, on this is that I had heard it before, I mentioned, but you brought it as part of your story. And that made it yours, that derivative of it. And I think so many of us get caught up. I've had some really large corporate consulting engagements where we're helping them build out content, and very senior, unbelievably talented individuals, and they go, I got nothing. And even if you help me, John, I'm only going to have it for, that month or two you get me started. And then I go, no. This stuff, and actually with one of my first ones, they sold the business. It was worth almost nothing. They sold it for $250 million 4 years later, because he became, he and a couple of his partners became rock stars in this part of the industry. And it was really their story and having that, kind of formula that you do.
Yeah, exactly right. And, I have a specific formula called the 60-second sales hook. But, for know, like, and trust, it's like, look, what makes you feel like you know somebody? They reveal themselves in a relatable way to where you go, okay, that guy's got 2 kids around my age. It could be as simple as that. So you check off that box. I can relate to this person. And then, like, we've talked a lot about authenticity, transparency. When you're, here's the key here is that if you're willing to admit a struggle, that sets you apart in so many ways, especially from big companies and corporations where every single word that goes out has to go past the board and past the legal and all these things. And I get that there are times where that's necessary. But if you can create a framework where you have the freedom to look into a camera like you and I are doing right now, and tell a story and share a little bit of a struggle, suddenly you're so human, you're so honest. Because, the last thing you want to have, it's not a mission statement, right? It's a bonding moment. Mission statements are immediately ignorable by like the second line. But if you tell a story and you say, it was this year, and like you just told about 2008, I can see you kind of pacing the floor and going, wow, like things have changed. Where did this come from? Nothing in the rule book about this. I've got to go to work and find a whole new way.
Well, and you share, I still remember doing videos and saying our revenue was down 45%. I mean, people hide from that. And,
right.
But if you share, the journey together and what you're doing and then delivering value, it's amazing. Hey, Kevin, I want you to go because, you're famous for a lot of things, but you have a magical formula.
Yeah.
And I want to go to this is the
Right.
60-second sales hook. And, share with our viewers or our listeners here on the podcast how you make that happen. Because this is really, I had been watching you from afar. We have some mutual friends and so on. And then when you came out with this book, I immediately got it, read it. You had a bonus video. I watched the hour or so video. That's why I felt like I knew you right away. And it's like, whoa, this is amazing. And, then it took me a while to reach out to you, but then reach out to you as well. And then,
awesome.
and matter of fact, I paid you to reach out too. So you
Yeah,
had a little
that was
promotion.
great.
Yeah. So
very kind of you.
Yeah.
You could have got my attention with, Here's some mutual friends we have. So that was very generous of you.
Yeah, no, this is so. Tell our viewers and listeners about this.
Sure. So, yeah, it's simply what I mentioned before, that I had this moment of revelation where I thought, joke formulas are something that could make the process of creating a sales message easier for entrepreneurs or any business owner who, again, feels like maybe they're a little dry, and you say, okay, tell your story. And they go, okay, great. So first let me come up with a story. And then how long is it supposed to be? All these questions, right? But when somebody's telling you a joke, they know how long the joke is. They know the lines to say. They know what not to reveal before the punchline. All these things are sort of automatic. And so I thought, wow, the breakthrough is going to be if I can get people to think about their sales message the same way they tell a joke and have this framework, these sort of rules they follow, it'll be really effective. So I call it the 60-second sales hook, because if it's longer than 60 seconds, you're doing it wrong. The whole point of this formula is not to sell a product. All you're buying, or you're asking people to pay you, is attention and maybe an opt-in to learn more, which is, as you know, the first step on the journey for most relationships with our customers, right? We want to win their trust, and we want to get them in our world. So it comes from a joke formula. And so I'll give you the joke formula, and then I'll give you the sales formula. And the cool thing about this joke formula is that, first of all, you'll see this all the time in commercials now once you know it. And the other interesting thing is, once I figured out the joke formula, I started to see it everywhere. Comics would use it when the stakes are highest, like on their first national television shot, things like that. So one of my favorite examples of it is, in fact, from someone's first national television spot. It's a comedian named Karen Rontowski, and it's her first time on Letterman. And so she walks out and she says, my kids were so bad in Walmart today that I pulled a fly swatter off the shelf and I smacked them with it. And she says, and the second the fly swatter hit their ass, I thought, I don't have kids.
It was hilarious. When I read that, I was dying laughing the first time, because it's just, but it's so simple a joke,
right,
that even a fellow entrepreneur like me could tell that one.
Exactly. I mean, it's so much is revealed. There's that great surprise at the end. And just what I love about using that example is, think about how much we know about this person now, right? We didn't know anything about her a second ago. She needed to win our trust that she was funny. She needed to bond with us on some commonality. And so she just ticked off. So the formula goes like this for the joke: is identity, struggle, discovery, and then surprise. So you see that formula in that joke we just told. But then, of course, the catch would be, wait a minute, surprise. First of all, my audience probably doesn't want to be surprised. They want more predictable reaction to what I've created. And also, there's a lot of pressure to have to be clever every time you come up with a message. So all I did was switch that last part of it. So the 60-second sales hook is identity, struggle, discovery, and then result, because ultimately that's what anybody wants. And this is, again, if you look at it in great testimonials from your customers for your products, this is the exact formula you want them to use. So whether you're telling your story or the story of your customer, this is the go-to formula. And so it's identity, struggle, discovery, result. And as a quick example, John, I'll just read you the one I use for me as a sales consultant. Mm-hmm. I say, I'm Kevin Rogers, and you'll recognize this. I spent years as a dead broke stand-up comedian until I discovered how a simple joke formula can be used as an irresistible sales hook, and began teaching marketers how to use it to skyrocket their sales and grow their businesses. Now I'm one of the, most sought after in-demand sales consultants online, making more in one session than I used to in a month as a stand-up comic or something like that. And so obviously that appeals to a lot of people. Anybody who wants to get paid to consult, obviously, for the result, and anybody who just wants to grab attention. And then a simple call to action. If you want to learn more about this formula or use it in your own business, simply enter your email and I'll give it to you right on the next page. Yeah. And it can be that simple. And what's funny, John, is I've been teaching this now for a little over a year. And boy, the ways people can find to screw this up. To me, it's the simplest thing in the world. But there's some intricacy to it. The struggle needs to be quick and relatable. Like in my case, for instance, dead broke stand-up comic. Not a lot of people were that or can relate to that, but it's all the information you need to see that vision in your head, right? And then the discovery is really the magic part of it. Like, this is where a great marketing sort of trick, an effective tool is proprietize as many things as you possibly can. Again, doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel, but if you have a formula or a tactic, something you give to people that works every time they use it, give it a name, right? Name it and claim it and make it yours. And then that's the title of your free report or your free video series or whatever. And suddenly everything comes together, all the puzzle pieces fit, and they go, man, that's the KLT guy. He's got this cool thing. I better go get it.
It's phenomenal. Let me go, because I want to make sure everybody can get this. Let me go to the next segment, which is the book of the day. Kevin, how can our fellow entrepreneurs, get this ebook that you have and the video that goes with it?
Sure. Yeah. So it is on Amazon. If you just want the book, if you really prefer paper, you can get it there. But you can also get a free digital download of it at 60secondsaleshook.com. It's the number 60secondsaleshook.com. And that'll put you in my world, and I'll gladly guide you to more cool learning material. I've got all kinds of neat formulas for writing copy on the fly that are very effective.
And I do get, I know I get 1,400 emails a week, not counting the junk stuff. Yours is one of them that I do read because I love the material. So I would encourage anybody that's involved in marketing, definitely. And if you're an entrepreneur, you better be involved in marketing or you're missing something here. Well, let's go to the next one is the application of the day. And Kevin, what, on your smartphone, what would you recommend your fellow entrepreneurs?
That's an easy one for me. It's an app called Voxer. Have you heard of Voxer? It is.
I don't know that one. How's that spelled?
It essentially turns your cell phone into a kind of a walkie-talkie. So it's a vocal. Maybe if you know WhatsApp, it's very similar to that. So you can just press a button and send somebody a voice message, and they can receive it whenever is convenient for them. You can also text and send pictures, and they just added video. Sounds like I'm a spokesperson for the company or something. But I'll tell you what I love about this app, John, is that it comes back to everything we're talking about, is like bonding and creating relationships. And you ever have that moment where you want to call somebody and leave a message and they pick up and you're like, damn, I didn't have time for a whole conversation right now. Like, this is the answer to that, And so you can leave somebody a quick message, but I've formed entire relationships, about 40 seconds at a time through this app. So it's really cool. Voxer is the app, and it's a great way to communicate.
Is it Voxer with a B or is it
a V? Voxer.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Let me go to the last segment for resources, Kevin. And somebody wants to learn more about what you're doing and follow you or work with you. Where would they go?
That would be copychief.com. which is a website and a community. So they could get my blog, they can get my podcast. I have a podcast called The Truth About Marketing, where I interview many of our fellow friends, and they really give us the deep stuff on what's working. And it's also a community of copywriters. So if you're looking for a freelance copywriter, or you're looking for templates and formulas to make your own copywriting easier, then that's why I built CopyChief.
And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, because I need more help on copywriters. And certainly I recommend strongly as entrepreneurs. Many of you are like me who aren't the greatest writers. We can, once there's nothing more I hate, Kevin, than a totally blank screen. And having the formula and the framing, that makes it so much easier. But what makes it really easier is hiring a great copywriter and reviewing their work.
That's for sure.
So much easier.
Let them sweat it out.
Yeah. So let me go and kind of pull this all together, because this has been really valuable. I got a bunch of notes here, key takeaways. And Yeah, the very first thing is, I mean, I love the lessons learned from comedy, and I want to, life gives us all these lessons as entrepreneurs, and we're all building, stories, and we're capturing experiences, and take advantage of those and how you communicate to people. And the second thing is to really recognize that your job as, if you're the CEO, for instance, you are to inspire people to action, the right people. And to do that, we've got to tell stories, because everything in today's world can be commoditized. If it isn't already, it's on the verge of being it. The thing that makes it distinctive is your story, the whole experience that you're bringing in that authentic. And Kevin talked about the best story wins, and that the concept of know, like, trust. Keep on going back to that. People need to know you. They actually have to like you, and they have to trust you. And you can't, just say, trust me. Okay, it doesn't work in today's world anymore at all. Remember, it does work, but it's totally the opposite. And then I gotta just really encourage you to use Kevin's 60-second sales hook. I use it whenever I'm involved in trying to write some copy or working with one of our copywriters. It's a simple formula, and quite honestly, the simple things are the best. Kevin, again, thank you for joining us and sharing your brilliant insights. I'm going to encourage everyone out there, go to aesnation.com. We've got a transcription. We've got all the show notes. Kevin's got so many pearls of wisdom. Take him up on his free book, or you can buy it on Amazon if you'd like to have the printed one. But your clients, your future clients, they're all counting on you. You've got to inspire them with action. And the best way to do that is with your message. Go make a difference. Wish you the best of success.
Exceptional, remarkable breakthroughs. aesnation.com